Now, how did you at one time, were you the one that was fostering the children for a little while?
Yes. That's how we came to know about them. We had them just for 5 nights.
Okay, explain to me how that happened. So you didn't know the Hernandezes before this?
No, ma'am.
Okay, explain to me how this happens then. You've been a foster parent for how long?
13 years.
How many children have you fostered in that time?
My daughter counted the other day. It's about 30, between 30 and 35.
Okay. And so you get a call, or how do they contact you? How do they contact you for you to take the children?
Yes. So right now for the last year, we've been respite only, which is where we aren't taking kids in full time. Anytime that a foster parent needs to leave the state or even just needs someone to take the kids for a few nights, a couple of weeks, they call a respite family. So we got a call from our Franklin County contact um, here in our county, and she's usually the one who does call us and will say, "Hey, I've got two kids from Forsyth County. Originally, it was a little boy and a little girl. DFACS does get information wrong often on that, but there was no information. Like they will tell us things that they know for sure that they want us to know. My Franklin County person has always been extremely honest with us and very upfront about anything she knows. When she called this day, she said, "Hey, they're in Forsyth. They actually need someone tomorrow through Monday." Well, because we live so far away, an hour and a half, they asked, could the kids go ahead and come tonight? So once I say yes, our contacts from Franklin County will just say, "Well, I'll tell the caseworker, they'll be in touch with you." So I got a call 20 minutes later from caseworker asking, could the kids come tonight instead of tomorrow, and can they stay an extra day? This caseworker was Mackenzie McCrae, and I didn't get any information about the kids besides their ages. So we say yes, they show up, from a transporter brings them. And when the transporter got there, he wanted the foster mom to talk to me on the phone so I could hear what the schedule is for the girls for eating and, just who they are and what they like, what they don't like. And it was the next day that I started noticing, although Emma was a beautiful baby, I noticed she held her body just odd to me. I was a newborn photographer for years, so I'm very familiar with babies. And the shape of her skull seemed sloping.
Mm.
And then as I was telling my husband these things, I always document, of course, to foster parents and the caseworkers things that I see. So if a child is wetting the bed, a child has bloody noses, the child is cursing, whatever the issue is, I make sure I document and just tell. So I reached out to the foster mom via text message and let her know what I was seeing. And she immediately said, "Oh, well, all the stuff you're seeing is from abuse. Did no one tell you that Emma was abused physically? That's why she's in foster care." And it just sounded weird to me. I was like, well, the things I'm seeing are her little joints are off, like the way she would hold herself and the shape of her head. I was like, well, that doesn't seem like abuse. So I said to the foster mom, I've had babies in my studio with brittle bone disease and things like that, with joint issues. And so I was just going to let you know my concerns. And she really just shut it off and was like, "No, did no one tell you Emma had a broken leg, just a few weeks ago?" I'm like, "What? No one told me this baby coming into my house had a broken anything. Like I would have handled her diaper changing differently.
Oh
I would have
my.
treated her completely different, to be honest. Not that I'm not careful with babies. Of course I am. But I would never have held her up by the ankles when I'm changing her diaper had I known she had a fracture in her leg." So from that point on, I've always, Megan, looked into the parents of any kids living in my home. We've had issues in the past where parents have put out threatening things about our family on social media. So it's just something I've always done. I've searched the parents' names to find out, are they dangerous people? Are these bad people? Do I need to be concerned? Well, as soon as I searched them, I immediately saw this family pleading for help for their baby's health. They weren't saying anything. They weren't saying things like, well, we're being treated unfairly and we don't like what's happening to us. It was nothing like that. It was, we're worried about our baby. We have concerns for our daughter. And as I was reading that, I realized, or I felt in my heart, something was wrong. Like, these kids they did not need to be in foster care. Something was not right. And I had made the decision that once they left, I was going to call their mom. And I specifically wanted to wait until they left so that they were no longer in my home. And I wouldn't have to, if a parent asked, could they come see them? I wasn't going to put our family in a weird situation. Once they left, I emailed the caseworker my concerns about the medical problems. She also was constipated the whole time she was with us. And they were giving her iron supplements in her formula. And so after the third day, I stopped giving it to her because I felt like it was really adding to the constipation.
Yeah, that does that.
Yeah, and I got a different response from the caseworker than I did the foster mom. The caseworker said, oh, I'm sorry no one told you, because I got onto her. I was like, you should have said to me this baby had fractures. Like, you should have told me that. And so she apologized. I'm so sorry I didn't tell you. Also, thank you for your insight. We are currently seeking evaluations for Emma for her medical conditions or medical evaluations, something like that. She did not admit there was a condition, but she admitted that they were looking into helping her. And I thought, well, that's like the complete opposite response the foster mom gave me. So I thought that was weird. And going along with the family, I made a promise to myself I was going to call the mom. And so I did. When they leave, the morning that they left, I sent the caseworker my concerns. I hit send and I turned around and I called Taki. So from there, after I talked to Taki, I told her if she needed anything. She asked, like, how are my girls? That was her first question. Are they okay? She started crying. I let her know that they were doing well, but I felt like something was going on with Emma and that we would like to help if there's any way we can. And knowing that trial was coming on, I offered to be of an assistance if they needed that I would talk to a lawyer. So I did end up talking to the mom's lawyer, and she asked me to testify. So I did. It was about a week after I testified that, when we were at court, Megan, I started thinking we needed to close our home. My husband agreed because Forsyth County DFACS was behaving so off. They were so rude. They were so vindictive and so hateful in that room for those 3 days that I told my husband I was scared for our family.
You mean during the trial or the hearing?
Yes. Yes.
What was 3 days? 3 days? They did a hearing for 3 days?
It was a 3-day adjudication hearing.
Wow. Okay. And
which I've never been part of.
Were you there for all 3 days?
Yes, ma'am. I was not for the first 3 hours because I was sequestered with the other witnesses. But after that first 3 hours, but my husband was in there the full 3 days, and they were 8-hour days. There's 24 hours of transcripts. So these were full days. Well, we have them on a flash drive. If you want to call up this courthouse, they have the flash drive, but it's 24 hours of audio. So that we've been waiting to have that, because when I say they were evil, if I can describe that to you, I mean, I've been in court, Megan, a lot of times for these foster kids. We always go to court. So when we had full-time foster children, we go to court. So I'm not new to it. Now, I'm from a rural county, a small town, so things maybe are a little bit different. But when we were there, they treated this family like they were pieces of crap, like they literally didn't matter. They treated them like they brought in a beaten, bruised, bleeding baby that they tormented. They brought in their baby willingly with a swollen leg,
right,
with no bruises. She had a swollen leg. And they brought her in, and they at the same time were concerned about her soft spot on her head. So the way DFACS behaved that 3 days was just cold. They were just rude. It wasn't lawyer rude. It was inhumane to treat people, because even people who are guilty of child abuse or they're on drugs are supposed to be treated with a level of respect while they're in a courtroom. I mean, everybody knows that. You should have some level of respect, especially when there's no evidence. They had 5 character witnesses, I believe. They had a forensic interview specialist who watched Aria's ridiculous forensic interview, and she tore it apart, that it was completely unusable, and she went into detail why it was completely unusable. They had a forensic pathologist. They had a geneticist. They had the therapist who watches Matt's visits with the girls and who watched 2 visits with the mom before she was arrested. They had me. So that's how many? That's 7 witnesses, 8 witnesses. DFACS put a supervisor who had never even met the family on their stand because the caseworkers did not show up. There were 2 caseworkers and neither were there at the trial. But they put a supervisor on the stand, and they had just one CAP, a child abuse pediatrician from the accusing hospital. He was their witness, and he didn't even bring records. He didn't have x-rays. He didn't have documentation. They claimed that they did an OI test, but it only ran 2 different gene codes. You can see that online. It ran 2 gene codes, and he said, well, OI came back negative. And they asked, like, where? Well, I didn't bring that with me.
What is OI?
So he didn't even bring.
What's OI?
Osteogenesis imperfecta.
Okay. So, and in order to test for that properly, how many do you need?
Everything I've read is like over a dozen genes. Like most testing that will do it, they tell you to go broad, because osteogenesis imperfecta has so many multi-layers that you need to test for, like, all the tests are about 50 or 60 gene codes. Everything I've seen are a ton of gene codes. Same with Ehlers-Danlos. It's a lot. You can't just run 2 gene codes and be like, there it is, we tested. It's just not broad enough. Even a layman.
He didn't bring his test results?
No. Wow. And we've never seen them. The parents have not seen them. There's a place for Taki where it says, see results. And when she clicks it, nothing shows up. And when she calls, she was told by the hospital, the state told us not to give you these results or to Mr. Hernandez.
Wow.
That was their response.
Well, but they've been charged with criminal charges. They're entitled to everything in discovery, everything.
Well, apparently not.
Oh,
they were told
insane.
Not to. So no one even knows. And if it was brittle bone disease that Emma had, you outgrow that by 7 or 8 months. Most kids will outgrow that because you're just starting to develop. You get more vitamin D. So it's very possible she doesn't have OI. No one is claiming that's what she has. They simply wanted the broadest test tested on this little girl possible.
And how old is she? How old was she when they took custody of her?
Just under 3 months, like right at 3 months, actually, 12 weeks.
So then she's about 6 months now?
She's about 9 months now.
Oh, she's 9 months now. Well, my God, did they even get any of these tests done in that time?
No one knows.
Oh, Jesus.
No one knows. Like,
and so are you saying that if she did have rickets at the time, it's possible that if she's tested now, it'll be negative for it?
Yes, that is my understanding in my search. My husband's a pharmacist, so he's helped us search. From what we can see, you can grow out of that between 8 and 9 months old. So if she tested for rickets now, it could easily come back as negative, and we wouldn't know, which is possible that that's what she has. As far as we know, she hasn't had any more fractures, but nobody will tell. Now, do you know this baby fell off the couch during one of Matt's video calls with the previous foster family?
No, are you kidding me?
And fell off the couch during a video call, and she didn't take her to the doctor. I mean, that's negligence right there. The daycare put in a report in August that she was favoring one side of her body and had blue markings still up on her leg. they told the mom that 10 days after this happened. And when she said, well, did you bring her to the doctor? The caseworker said, no, the hospital was too busy. We're going to bring her back next week. So there's so much that they're hiding and just not being truthful with.
All right,
and
so
that's
go
the
back
reason
to
that
go back to the court hearing. You're in the court
Yes.
hearing. You're saying they're treating them like criminals. And
Yes.
you started to get nervous about working with them, and you wanted to close your home down. I got the
Yes.
impression from Matt that they wanted to close it off. They didn't want
Yes,
you
they
anymore.
did. They made the decision. So this is what happened. And I have emails as proof, and I'll be happy to send those to
Yep,
you.
send them all.
When
Send them all.
when we were feeling nervous, I said to Jonathan while crying that I do not want this. I don't want to do this anymore. So I called our Franklin County person and I said, look, I just don't think I can do this anymore. They've scared me. I'm nervous of what's going to happen. She understood. A week later, I called Rebecca Davidson. She's an administrator. She looks at all of the home studies and she can approve or disapprove a home. I told her everything that had happened. I wasn't sure if she was aware, if she heard through the grapevine. I told her everything. She said, well, Forsyth County beats to their own drum, Jennifer. She said, what you should do is leave your home open. Just take in kids from your county and surrounding counties. No more Forsyth kids. Just don't take Forsyth kids. I said, okay, you've made me feel better. She said to me, there is no official blacklist. When I told her I was afraid, she said, but however, just to be safe, just don't take any kids from that county. We hung up the phone with me saying, that sounds good. We'll leave our home open for respite. So just disregard the email that you got while you were on vacation. She said, okay, that sounds great. 2 days later, I get an email. Thank you for your service with us, where we've now closed your home due to family personal reasons. I immediately email her because now I want it in writing instead of over the phone. And I asked her why she closed our home. She told me it was after we hung up. She just had a feeling that we were no longer partnering with DFACS. And because I used words like medical kidnapping, it made her uncomfortable. Oh. But she didn't say that to me on the phone. We had a 20-minute conversation. She had every opportunity to say whatever she wanted on the phone with me. She waited 2 days, then closed my home. I think she probably called people in Forsyth County. And then she closed our home. And I told her I wanted it to reflect the truth, and that if they were closing our home against our will, they needed to change that because it currently states family personal reasons.
And did she change it?
No. She did not.
What else happened in court? What was the thing that scared you so badly? What were they doing or saying that made you so upset?
They were so full of lies, treating this family like they were criminals with nothing to stand on. They were disregarding 2 doctors who went over x-rays, who went over her blood results, and the judge was literally like, well, I just prefer the testimony given by Dr. Emmanuel Pena. Like, as if the hours and hours and hours these other doctors just spoke meant nothing to her. So the whole thing I think the judge made her decision before that trial even started. And the fact that the 2 caseworkers didn't even show up. Ashley Smith is the supervisor, and on day 2, she sat down on 2 rows in front of me, knowing who I was, and said to a girl who was learning what happens in court, some intern. She explained why we were all there, and she said, this is basically a done deal. We've already started TPR paperwork. She said that for me to hear during a break, which is, of course, terminating parental rights. You're talking about within 2 months of this happening. She was bragging with a smile on her face that they could not wait to take these kids away from this family. And it truly worries me. And my worry is not gone. I do not trust these people at this point at all.
It's very unusual for a for parents to be accused and then have a foster family stand up for them. That's very unusual. And
then to get shut down by, you know what I mean? Like, they could have
yeah.
listened. In 13 years, it's not like every kid we've never done this. We've never said that we think something's going on that shouldn't. That's never happened. So it's not like we're crazy people and we don't believe in foster care. I have 3 adopted children. I mean, I understand foster care is needed, but they should have listened to us. And instead they tried to shut us down and refuse meetings. I mean, it took so long to get a meeting. I just don't understand why they're so gung-ho about this. And they're already moved these girls from their other foster mom to now a foster to adopt home.
Oh my God, they're moving really quickly.
Yeah. Well, I
And
know
with
in
criminal
Georgia,
charges pending against them like
yeah,
this, and it's going to take them like a year to even get to court on this, I'm
I know.
very concerned.
DFACS did not do due diligence to find a fictive kin or relative home. And so when I met all these people in October, I'm looking around, there's like 20 people there on most of these days. Why won't some of these family take them? And I was told, well, we've told DFACS other family members will take them. So we even put our name on the fictive kin list to be a home. They have like 12 people on a list ready and willing to take these girls. And the caseworker, Nikki Cannon, told the father, you have too many people on this list. I can't possibly call all these people. If they're interested, they need to call me.
Oh my God.
That's not how it goes according to policy. They are supposed to call all of these people. And I can send you, I'll put in the Google Doc, they had their due diligence search that they filled out. They filled that sucker out in a day. They were taken on from the aunt and uncle the next day. They signed off saying they did their due diligence search within 24 hours. They didn't call one single person.
This,
because the sister also had the girls for the 5 weeks when those bruises showed up, a rash-like bruise, which I saw pictures of. And DFACS is claiming that Tony and Took, the aunt and uncle, allegedly let the mom come in and abuse this baby.
are you kidding me?
No, I'm not. No.
Did
And
she
actually,
go there? Did mom go there while they had the kid?
No. And Tony has 6 weeks, the whole 6 weeks he had the girls, he has all their surveillance for around their house and offered that. He said, never let them in, let her.
See,
and now
I thought they were accusing them of abusing her too, which
they started
really
with
crazy.
that.
Oh, they did?
They started with it, and then they changed it. You probably let the mom come in. DFACS is apparently going after them.
Oh my God.
And they had already said they were going to do that. They said that's why they won't place the girls back with them, because they allegedly either abused or let someone abuse Emma. So they won't look at them as a possible placement.
All right, this is insane.
It's insane, and they're going to lose their little girls. And before I met them, I knew something was going on that shouldn't. It was obvious because I know how foster care works here, and nothing was going as it should. You are still supposed to listen to parents, Megan, even if they are guilty of something, drug-related abuse.
Right.
You don't remove kids from full contact with their family. They still, especially babies, they need that contact with their mom. She was breastfeeding this baby, pumped the whole time she was in jail. They allowed her to pump. She brought her milk when she got out of jail to DFACS office, and no one knows where that milk is. They never gave it to Emma.
Jeez.
And I know that from the foster mom. And we only had formula. So no one gave us milk. And I asked the foster mom. She never received any. So what did they do with all this woman's breast milk? Like, what? How in this world? And they had to put Emma on a feeding tube while she was in the hospital and never even told the family until we're sitting in court 2 months later. And they find out Emma was put on a feeding tube because she wouldn't take formula because she was a breastfeeding baby. They never even told the parents that she was put on a feeding tube.
That's unbelievable.
And stuff like that. I know parents still have rights. They have rights to attend medical appointments unless the court states. So Taki couldn't this whole time, but Matt should have been going to every single doctor appointment, and they never would tell him when the doctor appointments were.
Well,
until they
now
were over.
now you see they've tied them up in criminal court, and so
Yes.
who knows what's going to happen with the juvenile case while they are now fighting for their lives in criminal court. And
Especially when they say the aunt and uncle who were their first choice placement are also looking at criminal charges.
right,
How's that going to?
right, right. This is unbelievable. I
Yeah.
don't know what to say other than all we can do is try to get some eyeballs on it. Um,
Ossoff's office is the only political place that has actually listened to us. They really have listened. They've taken, I mean, it's slow going,
mhm.
but but they've listened. We had an hour-long talk with a constituent service who took everything down, and we're kind of waiting for someone to get back with us. But it's just taking too long, and I'm nervous